Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, if you're new to the show, we do this on every episode because these are all great companies that I used as an athletic director. I highly recommend that you check them out. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors because I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank our good friends Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to their website, vitalsignswalloffame.com, and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, check them out. You put one of their units in your main gym lobby or your school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches, for parents. How about alums and sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Mobile. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We want to thank Ohio University and their online master's in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's at Ohio, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online, and you also get 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We want to thank Gipper for their support. Go to Gipper.com. Let their team help you become world class at creating social media content. Whether it's a quick post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to help showcase all the great things your program does in the community, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. Go to Gipper.com for more information. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com. We want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is one of those platforms you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, or results. For me, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is indispensable. Go to homecampus.com to find out more. That's it, homecampus.com. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables, and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that demo today. We also want to thank our friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, digital ticketing, but also fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for you to save money, um, uh, raise more money and save time. Goodness gracious. And bring your community together. For more information, you got to check out hometown.com. Hometown.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that kind of feedback is incredibly valuable, especially when you're sitting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going back to what people who listen to this know. It's my favorite state, the great state of Oregon, where I was born and raised, started my career. And we're going to be visiting with Jacob Wolbaum. Jacob is a registered athletic administrator. By the time you hear this, I think he'll might be a CAA because he's taking the exam. He's the director of athletics at Life Christian School, and that's in Aloha, Oregon, just outside of Portland and that Beaverton Strip. We're going to hear more about that. But Jacob, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Oh, sure. It's a pleasure to be here. Being a newer AD in the last couple of years, your podcast has become a favorite of mine. Every time there's a new episode pops up, it's right up down the queue. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today, sir.
So you're the one guy that's listening to our podcast. So
Oh, dude, come on. I've listened to this podcast. I know for a fact that there's multiple of us who listen to podcasts.
you're very kind. We enjoy doing them, and we're glad that you find them helpful. If you're a regular listener, you know that we always like to let our listeners get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born and where you grew up. Maybe take us up to your own college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Jacob Wolbaum origin story?
I grew up here in Aloha, Oregon, not too far actually from where the school's at. I actually grew up playing basketball there. It was a lot of fun. And from a young age, I loved athletics. Grew up playing baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and my main sport, lacrosse. And anything I could do and get myself outside, I would do. And I love it out here, man. There's no place like Oregon, in my opinion, and wouldn't have it anything differently. And so, grew up playing sports. I had a unique opportunity as a kid who I was homeschooled most of my life. So my path to college and high school was a little bit different. Played local for Aloha High School with lacrosse, but as far as other sports played recreational or club sports. And so it was a blast growing up and being in this area.
Well, again, you and I shared. I went to college just a few miles down the road from Aloha in Forest Grove. And again, this was 100 years ago. There was actually separation between as you left Aloha and went down the Tualatin Valley Highway. It was pastures and farmland before you got to Hillsboro, and then the same thing before you got to Cornelius, and then more farmland. Now it's just a one big strip. For you growing up, were you smack dab in the Aloha suburbs? Were you out a little bit in the farmland? What was it like for you growing up and again, as a homeschool student athlete?
Hey, I was right in the suburbs of Aloha. So at Friday nights, you could hear the band and you could hear the stadium from my backyard at Aloha. And it was an awesome experience growing up being out there. Aloha is a very unique spot because it's right in between Beaverton and Hillsboro, and it's kind of the stepsister is what I like to call it because it's literally like right dead set in the middle of both of them, and it's a really tight knit, tiny, small community. Growing up, everybody knew everybody. My senior class, everybody we grew up playing all sports together, football, lacrosse, from fifth grade all the way up till 12th grade. And so it doesn't seem like it when you look at a map. It seems like it's a very metropolitan area, but reality is it's a very close-knit, tight community.
Let's go and take a little bit of a dive into your experience. Homeschool, but participating on the local high school team. For I guess it's safe to say a majority of high school student athletes, they're attending that school. How was it for you? Was it a strain to make friendships, or is that just a myth? What was your experience as a homeschool student and then as a high school athlete?
I feel like everybody's situation is different. I grew up in a very socialized household. My mom, even though we were homeschooled, her biggest concept was making sure we were around other kids who were the myth around homeschool kids. We don't really know how to interact with one of other public school kids, and they can be true of some kids, but for me, I'm a social butterfly. So from the moment I could, I started hanging out with other kids, and a lot of the guys I played lacrosse with, I knew already. And so being able to have that community already established when I came on there, it was just like a walk in the park. Already knew the guys, already knew everybody. I had a lot of my buddies who I grew up with playing sports or in Boy Scouts. They all went to Aloha, so it's just a seamless transition going right into there.
All right. Again, I got to ask, 100 years ago when I was in high school, and again, I was born in Oregon, but ended up going to high school across the river in Washington State. But in both Oregon and Washington back then, I mean, there wasn't even high school soccer, let alone lacrosse. How have you seen lacrosse grow as a sport in Oregon? I always felt if it was around when I was in high school, geez, I was a football, basketball, track guy. You mean I get to run around and hit people with a stick? I would have been all over lacrosse. How was it for you, maybe with the sport being a little more established?
It's so cool. I'm a high school coach now, and I've been around the sport for quite a long time. It's honestly what's made me who I am today. And to see the sport grow and where it's at right now, it's awesome. It's the coolest thing giving back to the sport that's given me so much. And for lacrosse, like I remember when I first started playing, like people would look at me like I was speaking a foreign language. I was like, "Yeah, I play lacrosse." Like, what's that? And I stopped playing baseball. I was really into baseball, and then one day I saw a guy with a lacrosse stick, and I was like, "Hey, what's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's a lacrosse." I'm like, "What do you do?" He goes, "I hit people with this." And I'm like, "Dude, sign me up." I say less, man. And I ended up starting my fifth grade year and never looked back. It was honestly one of the most fun things I've ever started, and to this day, it's so cool to look back and see the growth of the sport and where it is now and how it's the technology around it's grown and how the athletes have grown. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, there are some fifth and sixth graders who they could destroy my high school team. Like it's just insane how good this sport has gotten to this point, especially here in Oregon. And it's awesome, man. But I love it. It's so cool to see it grow.
Absolutely. When you see schools play in a state where it's new or maybe it's growing, you always know who has that feeder program because the
Mhm.
kids it's pass shoot as opposed to pass drop chase pick it up. Let's go and talk about that transition for you from high school to college. What are some of your memories from that you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, so being the fact I was homeschooled in the state of Oregon, when you are homeschooled, you don't really get a high school diploma. So I had to go through a program at PCC, Portland Community College, where I got my high school diploma. I met my now wife there. And then I also had the opportunity to start a lacrosse club there, which was a lot of fun. It was super small. We were only around for about 1 year, but played Portland State, UP, and a couple other teams in the area. And it was a blast. It was about as much of a college experience that I could create for myself there. Later down the road, I got to go to Portland State and was a strength and conditioning coach there, and had an awesome opportunity to be a part of that program, especially during the time it was COVID, and so it was a lot during that time, but it was so much fun. A lot of memories I have coming back is being at the community college campus and being at Portland State and getting my degree there. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. I didn't have that down on your bio. You're actually a strength and conditioning coach while you were at Portland State.
Yeah, so my wife and I lived in Eugene for a little while, and then I was planning to go to U of O at the time, and then an opportunity came up at Portland State where I had an opportunity to intern as a get an internship there through the head coach there. His name's Scott Fabian, awesome guy. He's one of the strongest dudes I know, and got an opportunity to be an intern there and couldn't say no to it, and so I ended up transferring to Portland State up here in Portland, and started working underneath him, getting my degree, and just being around the culture of college athletics and what it was about. And it was a lot of early AMs. First team was 6 a.m. and I'll take the public transportation. So 4:30 a.m. wake up call and at PSU by 5:30, and wouldn't change it for a thing. That was so much fun. It was awesome, especially like during COVID. Like it was so surreal. Like it was such a crazy time, not really much knowledge of what was going on or how to handle it. And so being around the social distancing and coolest thing though was being at events like basketball and volleyball games with the fake crowd noise. It was wild, man. But it was such a cool learning environment for me to grow in.
Oh no, absolutely. And again, you're speaking my language, PCC, Portland State, University of Portland campuses, that I know exactly what you're talking about. Let's go and take a quick break. For our listeners, our guest today is Jacob Wolbaum. He's a registered athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at Life Christian School in Aloha, Oregon. We're going to hear about that and more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support of the podcast. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and take a look at their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to become a magnet for your kids, your coaches, even your teachers. How about sponsors and alums? You got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast, vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com.
I also gotta say, Jake, I've been using Huddle for a long time. When I first started coaching lacrosse, that's what we used, and the breakdowns, everything about it is one of my favorite one of my favorite sites to use, especially for our athletes. We can see who's on there, who's watching, making sure our boys are up to date on film, especially now as a high school coach working at Wilsonville. Being around the amazing staff we have, we're always talking and going over film and especially in the next couple days, we got our couple games, so we're going to gain those up. The transition, everything, man. Can't say more about Huddle and how great it is, especially for being a lacrosse coach and as an AD.
Bro, I really appreciate you saying that, and it's nice to hear that other sports are embracing huddle. Again, I knew all about it as a football coach. I was concerned as an AD if our other coaches would embrace it, and you're absolutely right. They all did. The indoor coaches in the gym, the soccer, and the lacrosse coaches outside. So thanks so much for sharing that. For our listeners, once again, our guest today is Jacob Wolbaum. He's the director of athletics at Life Christian School, and that's in Aloha, Oregon, just outside of Portland. Jacob, you shared a little bit of your journey that brought you up to Portland State, an internship and coaching. Um, let's talk about that transition from undergraduate student to actual out in the job world. What was that like for you? Did you land at Life Christian right away, or were there a couple of stops prior to it?
There were a couple stops prior to it. So, my wife and I, before Portland State, we lived in Eugene, and I had the opportunity to become a head lacrosse coach at a ripe age of 21 years old. Probably might have been a little bit too young a time, but started coaching lacrosse super young. And it really kind of led me to life in a sense because right out of high school, I got a job working for Oregon Episcopal School as a lacrosse coach there under Dennis Sullivan, who's now the athletic director there. It was actually really funny. One of the best advice he ever gave me was dress for the job you want. I was 18 years old. My first interview with OES, I wore a pink vest. And I guess I wowed him enough to where he gave me my first ever coaching job. And I felt really lucky to be able to coach there and work there through my entire time at college. And then had an amazing opportunity once I was done at Portland State where he asked me if I wanted to come on as a strength conditioning coach at OES, working with the middle school and high school programs and teaching PE. And so I couldn't say no to that.
Okay, I got to ask, the pink, where'd the pink come from?
I'll be honest, man, it's a little controversial. Pink's one of my favorite colors. Like, as an adult lacrosse player, I got a pink helmet. I like it, man. It's very vibrant. It shows my personality. I'm a very vibrant, loud person. Anybody you ask, I'm very loud and very vibrant. So for me, it shows my true identity. And looking back, it's a little hard. It's a little cringy. I don't know. Dennis took a chance on me, and I'm grateful for him every day when I think about that. But yeah, pink was definitely a bold choice of mine right out of high school to go for a job like that.
Well, I mean, it certainly separates you from, let's say, most of the crowd. It's not, that top color choice for interviews, but obviously you brought something else to the interview, and I can tell just by listening to you. There's no surprise that he hired you. Um, Looking at your career trajectory, and obviously you're at the beginning of your career. You've got more great things ahead of you. Um, was becoming an athletic director on your radar at all at that point, or did that develop from your? Sounds like you had a great working relationship with the AD there at OES.
It was never really on my radar, I'll be honest with you. Being a strength and conditioning coach at OES was awesome. I had amazing mentors in Dennis Sullivan and who's at OES still, and Melissa Smith, who you've actually had on this podcast. She's at the OSA now, and they were awesome with me, and they gave me a bunch of opportunities to kind of help work alongside them with running events. And as my years kind of kept going there, I was like, man, this is kind of more something I like a lot, is like running athletics. Because for me, like, I love sports, man. Like, sports is just, I'm a sports junkie. I watch baseball all the time whenever something's on TV. Like, my wife is one thing she always says, it's like she comes home from work, and if I'm home, something's up on the TV just because I'm a sports junkie. And so being around athletics all the time, and then about 2, 3 years ago was looking at a couple opportunities out there and interviewed at a few places. And the one place that gave me a chance was Life Christian, and haven't looked back since.
Um, we're going to talk about Life Christian in our next segment. Um, I remember, and again, you got to put this in context. This would have been in, the mid to late 80s. Um,
Right.
OES and Portland Lutheran and Portland Christian, um, you know, many of those schools were part of a conference that also included some smaller public schools like Neocani High School over on the coast and other schools. Um, what's the current status from your perspective of OES and those other schools from a competitive standpoint? Because I remember one school might have a good boys basketball team, the other school might be strong in soccer, but how have those schools, let's say, grown, if you will, in the last 35, 40 years?
When I look at somewhere like OES, like I was a part of OES right out of high school, and some of the things I always noticed was that it was a competitive environment in the aspect of these were student athletes who were always competing, always going at it. OES is at the 3A level. In their league, you've got Catlin Gable, De La Salle North Catholic, Riverdale. Sorry, not Riverdale anymore. Horizon Christian, Portland Adventist. You got all the more local private schools. We in our high school league that we play at, we're more of a coastal league, so we've got a lot of teams like Nestucca, Class Canine, Napa. But when I look at a school like OES, like I was a part of two state. I was very lucky to be part of two state championships while I was at the part of the lacrosse team. Um, the year right before COVID, our men's basketball team won state over at OES, and then they've always been a very competitive soccer program. The boys team in 2021 for our soccer program won state. It's definitely a environment where athletes are given the opportunity to thrive and grow and have success because of the coaching staff, the environment that breeds. I mean, the one thing I love is like when I think about OES, I just think about there's always something going on with kids playing sports, whether they're on a soccer field playing lacrosse, playing soccer, or they're in the gym shooting hoops or doing something, but there's always something going on at OES, which is something that I'm really trying to establish and hopefully grow within at life.
Oh no, absolutely. Um, Before we jump into life, in having spent a number of years myself as a athletic director and a coach at a couple of faith-based schools, sometimes I'd get asked a question, sometimes in kind of a snarky way. You and I'll put it in very blunt terms. Okay. This person talking to me, hey, you're a Christian school. How do you I remember one person said reconcile. How do you reconcile, competitive athletics and football? In football, I was also the AD and the football coach, with the the Christian mission. In other words, their feeling was that Christians couldn't fight and strive and compete in the athletic world. Um, is that was that just me and a couple knucklehead parents, or have you ever gotten that question? And if so, how do you respond, or how do you reconcile that?
Oh, I get that all the time, especially being at a small Christian private school. And, the thing I talk about all the time is that sports are bigger than wins and losses and being competitive on the court. When we walk on our court, one of the big things we preach to our athletes is we represent who we are and what we wear on our chest as far as our logos go. And so remembering that we are to follow and we are to really establish a culture that we believe in, which is, culture of openness, being honest and competing and leaving it on the court, but also understanding that there's a level of competitiveness and maturity that we need to have. Understanding that, we're called to compete, especially as athletes. Like that's why we step on the court, right? And, you know, but we also want to make sure that we respect one another because it's a beautiful sport, whichever one we're playing. And we want to show that equal respect to everybody who steps on it, whether we're a coach, we're an athlete, or it's the referee. We want to show them all respect.
Well, I love a great answer. It's very similar to, I actually went to one of our opposing schools. We had a great rivalry, but it was an intense rivalry. And I asked him, his answer to that. And he just kind of chuckled and he said, "Hey, whether it's public, private, Christian or not. In sports, we want to, respect the sport. We want to respect our opponents. We want to respect ourselves. We want to bring honor and glory to whatever we're doing, and that's going to reflect our faith. And so, yeah, we're going to compete, but at the end of the game, we're going to shake your hand. We're going to move on because this is just a very small part of our existence, a small part of our walk. So,
Yep.
very cool stuff. All right, we're going to take another break for our listeners. If you just joined us, our guest today is Jacob Wolbaum. He's the director of athletics at Life Christian School, and he's going to tell us all about life and more when we come back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank our good friends at Snap Raise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Coaches loved it, parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out all of their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you complete your master's degree, you also complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. For more information, check out the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We also want to thank our good friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and their team will have you creating world-class social media content in seconds. It might just be a simple post to celebrate a victory. It can also be an entire newsletter that showcases all the great things your department is doing in the community. Go to Gipper.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast to get started. That's Gipper.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Jacob, you've taken our listeners on your journey, as a homeschool athlete, as a homeschool student, as a high school athlete, and even a high school and college coach at a very young age. Now you're sitting, as I like to say, on the other side of the desk. How did that all happen? What brought you to life? And what are some things that you're particularly proud of about your program?
Yeah, so I was at OES and feel really lucky the fact that I was over there at OES for the time I was, and then was looking. I felt like I was being called to a bigger role. Was looking at what steps were out there and what opportunities there were, and saw this chance to come out here and interview at Life Christian, and went through the interview process, and they offered me the job, and it was awesome. It was right up my alley. It was a small school, great stepping stone, and I'm also able to teach middle school PE, and it's given me a chance to really connect with students and be a part of the life culture and life students, which has been phenomenal.
Now, again, you've shared a little bit of your resume so far. It certainly wasn't your first rodeo, but at the same time, you were probably one of the younger candidates, I'm guessing. Uh, what did you sell? I don't know if you still had your pink vest on, but what were some of the ways that you sold yourself to that hiring committee that you were the right person for the job?
Yeah, when I was interviewing, our principal Lindsay Matthews had just accepted the role as principal, and so she was part of the interview process, and so was Kelly Court, who is our assistant principal, and they were phenomenal. But the biggest thing I sold them on was the fact that I was going to bring energy and passion to this role. Um, and years leading up, we they had some good ADs, but when they were brought on, they were kind of like half in, half out. And the previous AD, her name was Michaela. She did an awesome job, but when she took the role, she thought she was gonna be like almost like a secretary, and didn't realize the vast requirements of being an athletic director. And so being able to bring my what I said, my youth, my energy, I think that really sold them, and they saw the passion and care I have for athletics and the growth of the student athletes, and they really thought it would be a good opportunity to chance on me.
Well, now that you've been there for a little over a year, going on your second year, I think, what are some of the things that you're particularly proud of? And maybe these are things that the school's been doing for a long time, or maybe it's something that you brought in as a new initiative.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the culture of celebrating our student athletes. You know, we're a small school, but the biggest thing is we bring a culture. We're just one giant family. It doesn't matter if you're a first grader playing basketball or a 12th grader playing basketball. Like we're all part of one big family. We're all part of life. And so the big thing we do here is we do a lot of ways connecting our student athletes, whether it's having an eighth grader help out with the first and second grade basketball. We're doing it. We just started our youth basketball yesterday. We had a couple middle schoolers out there helping out. And for us, for me, I'm really proud of the fact that I've seen our participation rate grow in about 12 to 15%. And that's just being around the students and really pushing them to try new things and try sports and just give it a try and see what happens. And I was always the first one to want to try a new sport. And for me, I'm always like, you know what? Like, I get it. You've never tried track and field. You know what? But you're quick when we do PE. Who says you couldn't run the 100 or try the 400? Like, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. And for me, it's being able to bring the energy and excitement back into life athletics has been really cool. We've seen families come together that you never thought to come together, and it's just been a surreal experience.
Now, you talk about hiring coaches. It's a challenge for any school, big or small. Um, how many of your coaches are on campus? They're either teaching or working on campus versus off campus or let's say walk-on coaches.
So I was actually the first AD to really pursue hiring coaches at Life. Leading up to this point, leading up to me taking over the AD role, all the coaches were all volunteer based, whether it's parents and members of the faculty or church. But for me, when I came in, I want to make sure that our athletes got good quality coaching from people who have experience in that athletic. So one of the first hires we made was her name, Katie Wilson, she's a PE teacher at Aloha High School, and she has come on and I call her my Swiss Army knife because she's not only our girls volleyball coach, our girls basketball coach, but she's also our track and field head coach. And so for her, she's always on campus after school, interacting with students, getting to meet them, getting to know them, and really just making sure that they see her face. And then this year, we had the awesome opportunity to have a amazing soccer coach come on, Jesselyn Kellerman, who is I can't speak highly enough about her because she's come on and just lit a fire underneath our boys soccer team. And they ended up winning the league championship this year. And it was funny. A lot of these boys have never been coached by a woman before. And so Jesselyn's a strong personality. In the first practice, she came out there and she came ready to go. And the boys were just like, whoa, okay. And it was awesome to see her grow the team, see her kids grow, and especially having her on campus as a PE teacher for elementary too was a huge benefit. And she got to be around the athletes, interact with them, and be a part of them, getting them to come out to practice. And I feel like that it was awesome.
Boy, that's great to see, hear that the program is growing. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but let's go and do it now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more, find out how you do things at Life Christian, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can easily find me, Jacob Wolbaum on LinkedIn, Jacob Wolbaum. And then also you can find me over email, Jacob Wolbaum, AD@gmail.com. So JACOB WOLBAUM, and then the letters AD@gmail.com. And I'm usually pretty good about getting responses out, but I'd love to chat with people and connect and make more connections, especially with this community.
Oh, absolutely. And make sure you check it, listeners, check out the Life Christian School athletic website. Got some cool stuff on there. Let's go and take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we're going to be back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, or results. For me, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is just incredible. You got to see it to believe it. Go to homecampus.com to find out more information. And even if your state has a different platform for scheduling and results, you can still use the eligibility platform for Home Campus. That's homecampus.com. We also want to thank our friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Of course, we use it for home games, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for things like, oh, big surprise, digital ticketing, but they also have fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for you to save time, raise more money, and bring your entire community together. To learn more, go to hometown.com. That's it. Don't forget to mention the podcast, hometown.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Um, Jacob, you and I were talking during the break. Obviously, you're at the front end of your career. I'm, at the end of my career. But I think it's important for ADs to, at some point, start their own journey with their state association and with the NIAAA. Um, Share with our listeners how you first heard about, the NIAAA and what you're doing also in Oregon as a member of the OADA.
Yeah, so I got the opportunity to hear about the NIAAA last year through the OADA. Not gonna lie, I would not feel as confident as I do if not for the OADA. It's honestly, it's such a cool organization, especially with the fact that they have a mentorship program for new ADs in the state of Oregon. And I was very lucky to have an amazing mentor in Lauren McFarland, who's formerly at Glencoe. She really took me underneath her wing and helped me along there. And then just being a part of the OADA, the one thing I've really learned is it doesn't matter whether you're a 1A classification or 6A classification. All athletic directors are athletic directors, and specifically with the OADA, they're going to connect you and make sure you feel supported. And that's the one thing I've really loved about being a part of the OADA is the fact that they've really kind of helped me feel like I'm not alone out there and that there are great people surrounding me and helping me out.
Uh, Talk a little bit about, let's say, your first state conference. I was fortunate enough to, be one of the speakers last year at OADA, but that Sun River setting is just tremendous. What are some of the things that you took away from your very first OADA conference?
Man, it was surreal, dude. Being in a room surrounded by people who are like-minded and wanting to grow. That's the one thing that I loved is seeing that, you have ADs like Steve Wallow, who is a legend in Oregon, being there and growing alongside and being the same NIAAA class as me. That was awesome. And knowing that they're out there to grow and get better also is just, it was awesome. And then also meeting you in person was great too. And so that was a cool experience. And so for me, it was just being around the culture of growth and seeing everybody there. It was awesome.
Oh, well, you're very kind. Again, that was a great trip. Let's talk NIAAA.
Yep.
You're already in RAA. You and I spoke. You're on schedule to take the exam here in a couple of weeks. Um, what were those initial leadership training courses like? What were some of your takeaways from that first session?
Man, I feel like for me, the thing I've really learned with the NIAAA in the classes is that there's always something to learn and there's always something to get better at, especially as an AD. And it's really given me the opportunity to grow and add on to my tool belt as an AD and help me out. And when I took my first NIAAA class, like I remember sitting in the room with all the ADs and it's just like being around all the other ADs and realizing that there were ADs who have been a part of the program for 20 plus years and realizing that they're taking the same class as I am as a first year AD, it was awesome. And being able to see the growth and see my growth as an AD from it has been awesome.
Now, a lot of times, and I remember this being an AD at a smaller school or a coach at a smaller school, sometimes, professional development offerings, whether it's national or local, um, you can say, well, geez, that's great at a big school, but I'm at a small school. How did you find the NIAAA courses being, let's say, user friendly to you as someone from a smaller school?
It's like the rural country. It's like the rural cowboy country being at a smaller school. You're gonna have ADs like me who really believe in it, and you're gonna have ADs who are like, I don't need that schmojo. I don't really see the benefit of that. But for me, it's been such a user friendly and so impactful for me and growing in ways I can help grow my community and my athletes. And, a couple of the classes I've had to take online, especially getting my RAA and working towards my CAA, I've taken them online and they've been so user friendly and it's been awesome. It's something I can put on my laptop, sit down and really just intake and learn and listen. And it's been a awesome experience.
Well, I know we might be getting way ahead of ourselves here, but hey, it's my podcast. You're getting ready to take your CAA exam. Of course, we wouldn't be doing our jobs as NIAAA reps without asking, well, have you thought about your CMAA and your project? Has that been part of your process so far?
Yeah, goal is to get my CMAA. Ooh, tongue twister. Goal is to get there. I want to get my CAA first and then kind of take the steps. I'm really lucky because I have a lot of people around me who have all their certifications and Melissa Smith over at OSAA, Steve Wallow over at CS Lewis, and they've been kind of helping me along and really pushing me like, hey, like this is a huge thing to help you out. Um, Steve, Dave over at OADA has been great. He's been really pushing me to get it too. And it's just been one of those things where having people around you who are like-minded and who understand the benefit of having these certifications as you grow as an AD has been honestly the biggest helping hand with this situation.
And again, everybody that you mentioned, it's great that you have them, in your network, in your neighborhood, if you will. And you're absolutely right. Having that CAA behind your name, it's not, a life or death thing. But when people see that,
Mhm.
they sit up, they know. And then as spend some time in the profession and you earn your CMAA, that much more so. People who know it means a lot. And for our listeners and for you too, when you get ready to do your CMA project, there's some additional coursework, but that project, you might be wondering, well, gosh, what do I do? I want to do something great. I guarantee you, and this is for you, Jacob, as well as any of our listeners, you're already doing something at your school that would make a great project. Maybe it's with student athletes or coaches, maybe it's facilities or parents. You're already doing something. You just need to put it down on paper or put it down in a PowerPoint and share your story. Reach out to your state. Every single state has a certification coordinator. Talk to them first. They will help you out. Feel free to reach out to me. I still do that, helping people put together their CMA project. So excited to see you continue on your path here in education-based athletics. Jacob, this has just been very cool. Spending some time with you again, getting you on the podcast, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with a segment we call the Athletic Director's Toolbox. I think you've already shown to our listeners, you know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take a final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 items in the toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Jacob Wolbaum puts in his new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns and hopefully address them. But they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that kind of feedback is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast, athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with somebody I'm going to call a new friend to the show, Jacob Wolbaum. He's the director of athletics for Life Christian School in Aloha, Oregon. Has an incredible background in athletics for somebody, again, at the beginning of his career. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new AD on their first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Jacob, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
The first one I put in that toolbox is over communicate. There's nothing wrong with over communicating to your athletes, coaches, and families. That's the one thing I learned early on is making sure that I send out reminders of game days, reminders of practices, where they're going. That way, my butt's covered. But also that way they're properly informed on where we're going, what's going on, whether we have a meeting that day. And that way I keep myself on task and I also keep everybody else on task and understanding what's going on. And then my second one is going to be schedule everything out. Especially for someone like me and at the smaller schools, you wear multiple hats, whether you're a teacher, athletic director. I do our detention at our school also, and I do all of our leadership meetings. And so it's like making sure every minute of my day is planned out is huge. So schedule everything out. I know it's tedious, but if we're going to spend 15 minutes on our cell phone every day, we can spend 15 minutes on Google Calendar planning every little moment out. And then honestly, my third one is building connections. Being an AD, you can really feel isolated and you can feel like you're by yourself. But when you find mentors and find peers who can help you grow, it feels like you got a support system that you can defeat anything. I feel very blessed and lucky to have Dennis over at OES, Melissa at OSA, Ryan at McMill, Steve Wallow, like all these amazing people around me who are there that when I need a quick question, I call them and they always answer. And so building your connection with your local AEDs and just getting yourself out there and knowing that, even though there are times where you might feel isolated and alone, you got people around you who are there to pick you up, answer questions, help you out, and know that you're not alone as an AD out there.
Boy, all of them are great answers. Actually, probably three of our most frequently mentioned tools, which is great because here's somebody again. I've said this a bunch. You're you're a young AD, you're at the start of your career, but you've already figured out the important tools to have in your toolbox. Certainly appreciate you sharing. Thanks again for coming on. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and you talked about, building your network. If somebody wants to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way they can get a hold of Jacob Wolbaum?
Find me on LinkedIn, full name, Jacob Wolbaum. And then also you guys can reach out via email, Jacob Wolbaum, AD@gmail.com, JACOBWOLBAUM, letters AD@gmail.com.
Well, Jacob, thanks again so much for sharing with our listeners. All the best as we continue, with spring sports. We are definitely going to get you back on the podcast, and I'm going to have to add you to our itinerary. My wife and I, we still get out to Oregon every single summer, so you have to swing by your school and say hello.
Oh, please do. I'll take you out for lunch like that.
All right, hey, there, you just signed the deal. Um, for our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and just remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you.